In today's episode, I talk about when we make plans, what makes us throw big problems in our path? Why do we create obstacles and how do we get over them? I wanted to share some stuff from a call that I've had recently that I just felt, obviously I can't record it, but I wanted to share bits with you, which I think is really interesting. And it's really about how often we put things in our own way. We kind of put obstacles in place. It just creates procrastination. It was just a fantastic conversation I had where the person I was talking to looked to have a plan for the future and had started some steps towards it and then had lost momentum for a number of different reasons, and then wanted to kind of pick up the pieces and just try to regroup that, take that plan into action and move on. They were still struggling with some, I think, really interesting points, and it was this, is that they had their plan that they liked, but then were very quick to throw up concerns about, well, what if this happens and what if this happens and I don't know about this and I'm sure about this. It's what I find fascinating is that we can get into a situation where we create a story of this future, of what happens, all of these ifs, these what if scenarios, but in reality, it's that we just don't know. We don't have any crystal ball to know how we're going to handle those or what happens if. We just have to start. You can't decide how you're going to play the game sat on the benches. You need to go out and see what happens and adjust in the game. You can't decide from the sidelines what's going to happen. The questions that were presenting themselves weren't even valid for the present moment. They were all potentially months into the future, ones they couldn't even possibly answer. But that's not the point. The point I'm offering you and the point that I was kind of sharing with them is that, well, what's the purpose behind this? Why are we throwing these big things in front of us to answer now when we haven't even taken the first step? And often the case is the fear. And the fear, in this particular instance, was about doing the right thing. Now I find that fascinating because it's really interesting how we get fixed up in those words. Now, for them, the idea of what the right thing to do was, the do of that sentence was this big plan, which all things could happen, and maybe it was 12 months, 18 months down the line. This big do was massive. So we had to draw it all the way back to the now, where we're working out if we are going to move forward and make this dream happen. The do part hasn't happened yet. That do bit is the big plan. At this stage, I asked them to simply research and get some information together, just get some bits and pieces to start understanding if they could do that do bit, if that makes sense. The plan was still far in the future. It's not now. Now, we are free to get knowledge, free to get information and gather it and put together and create some sort of idea if it's a valid thing to go and do. The second point is that in this state, when we're just gathering information, it's amazing how we put things in our path that which then inhibit us from even looking. That fear begins to grow, the uncertainty grows. So I challenge them. Stop the overthinking and just work on what you do know and go and find out. Go and start with small steps towards the goal, the idea. And then you can decide if it's the right thing to do. Right now you have no information. I said so many times to so many people, the gap of uncertainty between what we do know and what we're thinking about as an idea is a place where fear festers, where it grows and kind of pushes us further away from our goal. The best way to combat that is information, knowledge, research. It becomes a bridge from where we are to our goal. It becomes a ladder we can actually use to get across. So I encourage them and I encourage you. When you're facing a situation, you notice yourself going to this pattern of throwing up big problems, which aren't actually even in the immediate or in the short term, is that you're thinking, well, what's happening there? Why am I doing that? What's the cause? But that's something you're going to know. And something I left with them is that the fears for them were just uncertainty. it's about recognizing that that's an implausible position to make a decision on. Actually, it's worth repeating. Uncertainty is an implausible position to make a decision on. It's not good enough. That's why we find out. That's why we start, because you never know what you're going to find out as you go along. And a lot of the times, the bigger things we're throwing in our way actually aren't so big when we start to work through the plan, towards the plan of finding out. So I'll leave with you, as I said with them, find ways to fill that uncertainty with knowledge and information. Bridge between where you are to your plan, and you're going to find those big obstacles dropping away, or at least finding more manageable, and then getting you actually on track, connecting to your passion, connecting whatever you want to do, and get you to your goal. So, said to them, said to you, hope that's been worthwhile. And if you've got any thoughts about it, any questions, drop something in the comments. I'll reply to every single one of them. Other than that, I'll catch you next time.